Well, I'm glad that you were able to come and meet with me today. I know that your schedule is really busy, but I just wanted to take some time for us to chat before I come and do the classroom observation. I just want to make sure we have a shared understanding of this process. This is a new process for you, and it's a new process for me. And the purpose of the educator effectiveness is for professional growth. And so this process, I want this to be meaningful for you and that you feel that you benefit from this process. So we're going to get started with some of our questions, and I jotted some questions down, but I want you to feel very free to add any input, or if you have any particular questions that you want addressed, that we can kind of go along as what seems naturally.
Okay.
All right. What strategies, Kyle, do you typically use to check students' misconceptions as you begin a new study or new focus of learning?
Usually to begin a lesson or a new study of focus, we use a KWL chart, completing the K and the W for the students to see what they know and what they want to know. Recently, we just started a theme on oceans, and the students have been very fascinated ever since one student read a book about the Titanic, and a couple of other students have been to the beach, and they were very curious about the ocean, so we completed the K and the W part.
How do you adapt instruction for students who might need extra time or different strategies or approaches?
Okay. Usually what we'll do in the classroom is we'll have activities, and if these activities need extensions for students who didn't get to complete them, they'll have extra time. While my co-teacher facilitates some of these centers, I can pull kids and work one-on-one with them in order to get them to where they need to be academically.
Is there anything about your class that you would like me to know before I come in? So again, anything about particular students or systems that you have set up in the classroom?
I have a few students in our classroom with behavioral problems, and they have supports that come in, and I work closely with those supports just so we can find the best plan to help these students in the classroom. In my room, you'll see a lot of transitions with songs and hand clapping and rhythms. The students really respond to that.
And how do you plan your instruction and consider like what is most important in the planning of your instruction? What do you take into account when you're planning?
I take into account the levels and the interests of the children, the early learning standards as well. So we hit all of the domains, especially the social emotional at this age. I think that's a big piece that the students are learning and the children need to understand and be able to do going forward.
That's a key piece, especially in early childhood, is those social emotional skills, because we know that if they don't have those in place, it's difficult for them to attend and to learn. So that's great that you're addressing those or in your instruction and thinking about those in planning. Kyle, I want you to think about you have a big influence in the instruction and the growth of your children, but there's others who are a part of that as well. Thinking about parents, you already mentioned that you have some support staff working with children, so maybe children with IEPs have therapists coming in as well, or maybe utilize people in the community. So if you could share with me how you communicate and work cooperatively with different stakeholders who have a vested interest in students.
Sure. The parents, I talk to them every day at drop-off, pick-up time. We have little notes that go home for the children every day. So parents are keeping them in the loop is really a big part of being successful in our classrooms. As far as outside agencies and other things, we welcome those support staff into our classroom with open arms. They're there to help, and they do a great job. As far as people in the community, a lot of the things we do are project-based, so we'll have like certain projects going on at one time, and we try to get experts from the community to come in and speak with the children, so they have a deeper understanding of the concept that we're talking about.
Okay. Kyle, as the designer of the instruction in your classroom, how do you meet the needs and interests of your students? And thinking about young children, their attention span is very short. So how do you keep them engaged? How do you keep them motivated and excited about learning?
It's sometimes difficult, but not all the time. Because we really look at the children's interests and that's how we plan our instruction, it's a lot easier to keep them motivated when they're willing and invested to learn what they want to learn. So we really question them and find out what they want to know and how the best way to facilitate that learning would be.
How do you develop the instructional goal for your lessons?
Okay. The instructional goals, at this stage, they're individualized for the students based on their abilities. It's somewhat difficult in my class. I have some students who are currently reading on a 3rd grade level and others who can barely attend to sit at circle for 15 to 20 minutes.
That's good
So
information
it's
to know.
very challenging to meet both groups, but through the use of questioning and differentiating questioning, that allows me to reach all of the students.
And thinking about that, how do you assess the children to know how they've met the goal or to the degree that they have met the instructional goal?
Sure. With that, we use anecdotal records. So I have a little journal that I keep, and I'll write things down when I see them doing something extraordinary, whether good or bad, and then we'll upload that to a computer database system for keeping and record tracking. We also have a checklist of things they should be able to do at ages 4 and 5, and we assess them by asking them different questions, mostly about letters and numbers and things like that, and recognition of certain objects.
And then how do you use that information that you collect ongoing to periodically assess the students?
That leads to the individualized instruction. I had one student who was not doing very well with letters, and they were 5 years old. So I adapted instruction specifically for them. We did fun games. I knew that they wouldn't just sit and memorize letters, so we did some fun games, and they learned more of their letters that way.
I think those are most of the questions that I have today, but is there any questions that you have or any other information that you would like to share prior to the observation?
I would just like to share my classroom it's a pretty fast-paced environment with a lot of good, fun friends playing and learning together. So I think you'll have a good time when you come in to observe.
I can tell you enjoy this group of children, invested in their development, so I'm excited about coming in and learning about how you are working with the children.